Hi, I'm Chris Horton,
And I'm Giuseppe Licata.
and this is our stats final project presentation.
So, for our final presentation, we wanted to gather information about how drinking, drugs, um, study hours, and party time affects a person's GPA. So, we went around with our surveys and collected 228 surveys, and we analyzed all the data and ran a bunch of different tests. We think that drugs and alcohol will negatively affect a person's GPA, so that's what our paper will be about. So for our first comparison, we're comparing GPA and average drinks and study times to students who said that they participate in drinking but do not participate in drug use. The average GPA was about 3.35, the average drink was about 6, and they studied about 7 hours per week.
So here we have a scatter plot that shows the GPA of a student versus the hours studied. Shows the average GPA is about 3.35 and the hours spent studying is about 7.18 hours per student per week. This comparison is being made to how many hours a student spends studying and participating in alcohol consumption in 1 week, and there doesn't seem to be any correlation between the data.
Here's another scatter plot of the GPA versus the average drinks. Kids who have less drinks seem to have a higher GPA. There are some outliers. One person said they had 50 drinks and have a GPA about 3.8.
So here we see a histogram of our data. We can see that the data is normally distributed for X. More than 80 people claim their GPA was higher than 3.5, which seemed very high to us.
Here's a histogram of the average drinks. We can see that the average drinks falls between 1 and about 8 drinks. That's where we have most of our data.
So here we have our first claim of the GPA of a student who studied more than 10 hours not equal to the GPA of a student who studies less than 10 hours. The GPA of the students who study greater than 10 hours is 3.414, and the GPA of a student who studies less than 10 hours is 3.317. Based on this test, we can support our claim.
Here, our claim is that students who drink less than 5 drinks will have a higher GPA than students who drink more than 5 drinks per week. The average for students who drink less than 5 drinks is 3.4, and the average of students who drink more is 3.2, so therefore we can support our claim.
So here we have the statistics for students who participate in drug use only. The average GPA is 3.37. A 3.3 is roughly a B+. The average study hours is 11.11. The average hours spent partying is 8.23, and the average drug use per week is 7.
This scatter plot shows the GPA versus study hours. It seems that the data is spread throughout the plot, and students who are not studying a lot have GPAs that are between 3.0 and 4.0, and it seems that students who are studying more than 10 hours have GPAs closer to being above 3.5. This may be a good claim to test for students that are participating in drug use.
So this plot shows the correlation between GPA and hours spent partying. In this plot, it does seem that students who are partying more do not have high GPAs. It seems that students who are partying more than 8 hours per week have GPAs that are lower than 3.0.
The scatter plot shows correlations between GPA and drug use, and we can clearly see a group of students who claim that they use drugs very often and have a low GPA less than 3, but there are also students who claim that they have high GPAs that often participate in drug use.
So here we see that the mean of GPAs for students who participate in drug use and study more than 10 hours and less than 10 hours are indeed not equal to each other. The claim of average GPA of students who study more than 10 hours for drug users is not equal to the average GPA of students who study less than 10 hours for drug users. Based on this evidence, we support our claim, and we are 95% positive that our claim is correct.
This test shows students who participate in drug use and study less than 10 hours and more than 10 hours. Our claim says that students who study more than 10 hours will have a higher GPA than students who study less than 10 hours, and based on our test, we can support our claim.
So here we have a claim that the average GPA of students who do drugs more than 4 times per week is less than the average GPA of students who do drugs less than 4 times per week. 3.336 is the average GPA of students who participate in drug use less than 4 times a week, and 3.190 is the average GPA of students who participate and drug use more than 4 times per week. Therefore, we can support our claim.
Here are the statistics of students who do not participate in drinking. The average GPA is 3.5. Their average drinks is 0 because they don't drink, and then their average study hours is about 7, and this GPA seems higher than the averages of students who drink and do drugs.
So this is a histogram of GPAs of non-drinkers, and it seems to be normally distributed for X, and the higher GPAs seem to be more constant for the non-drinkers.
This test shows the average GPAs of students who drink and students who do not drink or do drugs. Now, the GPA for students who do drink and do drugs is 3.3, and the GPA of non-drinkers is 3.57. And our claim was that the students who do not drink and do drugs will have a higher GPA, and based on this test, we can support our claim. In conclusion, students that study less hours, participate in drug and alcohol use, and party a lot have lower GPAs. Students who do not drink alcohol or participate in drug use have higher GPAs.
And that will conclude our presentation. Thank you for watching. We hope you found interest.